to the graphic nature of this program, listener discretion is advised.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of America! President Camacho! Shut up! Sit your monkey ass down. Chill out. Now, I understand everyone's shit's emotional right now, but listen up. I got a 3-point plan to fix everything. Number one, we got this guy not sure. Number two, he's got a higher IQ than any man alive. And number three, he's gonna fix everything. I give you my word as president. He'll fix the problems with all the dead crops. He's gonna make them really good. And that ain't all.
It's just a coincidence that you were talking about the Jack and Triumph show and I'm here. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Hey man, this is Kevin Smith, guy who makes all those unlistenable podcasts over at smodcast.com, and you're listening to the Two Strangers, One Podcast. This is podcasting.
You're listening to Two Strangers, One Podcast. Subscribe to us on iTunes or on the Stitcher app for Android devices. Please visit twostrangersonepodcast.net. Now, here's Chris Cologne and Paul Pescrillo.
Well, hello and welcome to Two Strangers, One Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Paul.
And this is take 3. I don't know, for some reason my brain...
Hopefully third time.
Third time's the charm.
And if he doesn't do it this time, I'm going to host the podcast this time.
Yeah, well, I was just thrown for a loop because we obviously started recording this hours and hours after we were supposed to. Not supposed to, but we were hoping to get Esther Koo on today for an interview. She's on the West Coast right now. According to her Periscope, looks like she's having a good time. So I'm pretty sure if she could have a choice between sitting on the beach, on a West Coast beach, or fucking talking to two fucking schmucks in a fucking basement, I'm pretty sure she'd much rather be out on the beach. I just caught her Periscope. She is playing Atlantic City on the 3rd, hopefully if this episode gets out in time. But Esther, we look forward to doing the interview, hopefully next week. I don't know if I'm going to do it. I don't know if Paul's going to be able to make it to that interview, so it's probably just going to be
depends on the schedule. You know how this shit goes. So.
A one-on-one kind of thing. Yeah. But you know, this is what happens. And like with the other interviews that we've had on this podcast, you know, I will continue to harass people. You know, the people that we've had on the show, Jody Schaefer and George Kirstick and so on and so forth. You know, people that I, you know, just harass online until they finally give in.
So you know what? Speaking of Megas XLR, I guess I can say that one of the Toonami people out there, not one of the Toonami people, one of the faithfuls out there actually found on Amazon UK a DVD that has the first 3 episodes.
Yeah. Now the DVD itself looks legit, but the box looks shady as fuck. The box looks like it was done in it would look like a bad Photoshop.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Now, that was one of the benefits of our interview was that I actually I had sent the DVD over to George Kirstick, and because I had the one that came, I think it came with a. No, I'm sorry. It was promoting like the cartoon. I have a DVD that's actually signed by George Kirstick, Jody Schaefer, and Chris Pernowski. But real nerdy shit. But the one that was in the UK, the first 3 episodes, like I said, it looks janky as fuck. The box looks janky, but the DVD looks legit. But then again, you know, it is what it is. Of course, the episodes are all over eBay or YouTube or whatever, so you could find it. Okay, so one of the reasons we were kind of late to recording is because Paul is too busy watching a CNN, and Bernie Sanders has just won Vermont. No shit. Like it's like, and they're reporting. Of course, they have to report it, but like, it isn't a fucking surprise that Vermont, a state that like he's been, you know, representing, or I don't. Was he mayor or was he governor?
No,
what the fuck was he?
I don't know. Current U.S. senator.
He's a senator. I'm the senator for Vermont, but I sound like a Jew from Long Island. But he's from Bensonhurst, if I'm not mistaken. He is from Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. And I can't believe
my cat is running around this basement. So.
Yeah. Paul's 12-toed cat. is running through the basement.
Shut up, hey.
Oh no, excuse me, 14 times.
She's a beautiful cat. Okay, stop your shit. All right.
You know, one of those like inbred cats. I mean, the cat's gorgeous, but it has like 2 extra toes on the front, 2 extra toes on the back. So that's 14 toes. 14. Yeah, they're all toes.
Beautiful cat. Shut up.
But Bernie Sanders is won Vermont, and we're going.
Clinton has taken everything else.
And Clinton is taking everything else.
Well, pretty much, she's taking everything else. You know, and here's the thing I want to talk about, because you know, we kind of do talk about politics and everything on here in the first half, anyways. You know, look, yes, I will fully admit I am a Hillary Clinton fan, but here's the thing: I was a Hillary Clinton person back when Barack Obama ran for office the first time. You know, I didn't think Barack Obama was qualified. Obviously, he has done a very good job as of today.
Just the fact that gas is less than $2.
See, that's the thing. Like, Bernie Sanders talks about the economy every single time he talks, and it's like, Mr. Sanders, what's your view on foreign policy? Well, what about the economy? No. Stop. We're talking about foreign policy.
Yeah, no, I get it. Look, you know, I know he means well. You know what I'm saying? I think he firmly believes in what he's promising.
Right. I firmly believe that he is doing. He's given the Democratic Party something to think about. But here's the problem. Like, look, the guy is 74 years old, and I'm not. I don't want people to hate on me for saying this, but I don't want a president to die in the White House. Mm-hmm. Number one, and number two, like, I don't think that he would be as good as Hillary Clinton. I think that Hillary Clinton is more qualified, but I think the nail in the coffin that kind of, you know, it started people going towards Hillary is Harry Reid, because Harry Reid came out in an interview the other day and said that he was endorsing Hillary Clinton and that people should just now start coalescing behind her, and let's get the show on the road, so to speak, and get this moving.
Well, it's like even the Democrats are divided. There is a divide, and it's funny because it jumps back and forth between Bernie and Hillary. Hillary tends to get more of the vote, but it's just it's so weird how divided. And the Republicans, obviously, Trump is getting big fucking numbers. Yet there's a whole solid movement against Trump. It's like
right. Well,
it's like the country's like so divided already.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Here's the reason why it's going on. And number one is obviously our Congress. Both the House and the Senate have fucked us so much these past couple years, because all they do, the president sends them a law and they go, fuck you.
Yeah.
The president right now is talking about trying to appoint somebody to the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, because we're in such an early time of the year, I think that's appropriate. Mm-hmm. You know, now if we were talking about maybe in the middle of the summer, towards the end of the year, I may say, you know what, yeah, just let the next president choose that person. But we're talking about the beginning of this year.
Yeah, it's not to cut you off. Obama isn't a lame duck, because people I've heard people use the term lame duck, and lame duck means after another person's been elected. Like after November, Barack Obama will be a lame duck.
What they mean by lame duck is like he's not. It's
a president. It's a president on their way out,
right? But I think it also means that he doesn't do anything, and clearly the president has been. Yeah,
he's trying to get things done, and like I said, look, just for the fact that I filled my gas tank yesterday, and I was paying $1.97. I mean, of course, it should be lower, but
it's
I mean, I'm just saying is just the fact that the other day. Yesterday I filled up my gas tank at $1.97. That alone, made me happy for the past 8 years. That alone. I mean, and I don't want to get super duper political, with the Affordable Care Act, which is, at least he's a guy who at least he tried. You gotta give Obama his fucking props for at least fucking trying to make a change, especially against, by this time, most people, after 8 years of fighting, would have fucking given up, saying, after 8 years of opposition, you would think right after he won the second election, he would just say, fuck it. I won the second election, I'm going to coast the next 4 years.
Well, look at what, Bush Jr., so to speak, did. Mm-hmm. Not Bush, it's not really Bush Jr., but, whatever, Bush Jr. He pretty much. I mean, this was his whole presidency. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't really do shit. It wasn't until 9/11 that he started to do stuff, and then even after that, he all of a sudden just was like, "Nah, fuck it."
Yeah,
You know
he's
what
still.
I mean?
I think I remember right before 9/11. You know, even though they were right after 9/11, of course, people became supportive of Bush because everyone became super duper patriotic.
Well, no,
but before 9/11, people were talking about how he was the most time on vacation of like any president ever.
Right.
He had spent the most time out in the fucking ranch, you know, whatever. I forgot what they said he was doing, like fucking baling hay or some shit like that. You know?
He was like out. He was taking the
It's
most
like,
vacations.
yeah,
of
it's
any
like you're
president
running, you're in theory,
Well, and
the head
here's-
of the most fucking powerful country on the planet, and you're fucking baling hay. You know,
Right,
you're out of
right,
fucking
right.
Camp David,
Well,
fucking
here's-
wanking it.
Here's the biggest thing that pisses me off is that people sit there and they try to say that Obama's the worst president. Let me tell you something about this. This is the first time that we've had a president. It's probably not the first time, but it's one of the most recent times that we've ever had a president that has really no power. Because this guy is trying to use executive orders, executive powers, as granted to him by the Constitution, to move us forward. And we can't move forward because the fucking Congress is sitting there playing with themselves. you
Yeah.
know? And you know, I've said this before to friends, and I'll say it again. You know, it's I know that it's not just Republicans, because there's got to be some Democrats that are, you know, hiding behind these Republicans, going, you know, oh yeah, you know, fuck Obama, I'm not going to help him. I don't like his policies. But you know, it's mostly Republicans. They don't want to do anything, and it's like, look, we have a country that is suffering right now. You know, it's bad enough that, you know, the governor. God, I don't even know what I was going there for. The governor of New York State, for example, is proposing a $15 an hour wage as the minimum wage. First of all, the average that has been calculated for that the minimum wage should be is about, $12.80 for like a single person. So we're talking about, let's just round it up to 13. Let's just be generous, $13. And I think that's fine. Why are we talking about $15? Because some fucking fast food workers wanted a goddamn fucking ways? Fuck you. Now these goddamn fast food, and I don't want to go off on another tangent, but it's like, you know, we are so, I guess where I'm trying to go is that we're so fucking close-minded in this country that we have fucking people sitting here, you know, if somebody complains about the Oscars being not diverse, it's not diverse. If fast food workers complain about, oh, well, my wage isn't appropriate, it should be $15 an hour. Oh, now we got to make it $15 an hour, and they did. You know, so it's to me, it's one of those things. I think our country has become too sensitive. It's become way too sensitive. And I'm not saying that there aren't racial problems in this country. There are fucking racial problems in this country.
Oh, absolutely.
But the Oscars is not one of them. And that's going to segue into something that we should talk.
Well, don't worry. Yeah, people that don't. This isn't for any new listeners. This isn't like a political podcast. We'll be getting to the dick and fart jokes real soon. I just wanted to talk about something real quick. I mean, now that we're trying to, I don't know if racism was what we're going to go to, but, you know,
and the Oscars.
Just the fact that Donald Trump is a fucking viable front runner. And
my God.
It blows my mind because, and you know what it is? And I understand now we get a lot of love from the West Coast on this podcast. A lot of people download from the West. I mean, obviously we get like New York and New Jersey and stuff like that, but you know, the Midwest is fucking practically dead. Nobody listens to the show in the Midwest. You know, this is a very, you know, left-wing show, if that's any way, not left-wing,
Right.
but we take it for granted. I mean, okay, Rochester is probably, you know, top 5 cities in the, you know, we take it for granted that we live in a city. And we take it for granted that, you know, I mean, even like, you know, I mean, I walk and talk and act like a white boy, but I am Puerto Rican. Right. You know, we take it for granted that, you know, we live in a relatively diverse city. We live in I mean, of course, you know, there are areas where it's a little more sectioned off, you know, the ghetto sectioned off. You know, there isn't really like a Hispanic area in Rochester, even though there kind of is, but not really. There's areas where they're a little bit more centralized, you know, and, you know, and like where I live like kind of like on the edge of that Spanish area, but it's more black than anything.
Right.
But like that being said, we take it for granted that we live in an area that's diverse. When you see the fact that fucking Donald Trump is a viable leading candidate in this country, it makes you forget, holy shit. Yes, there is about 80% of this country or 85% of this country, which, you know, is not ethnically diverse. Well, you know, that here's a guy fucking spewing crazy racism shit. Yeah. And there's people that are saying, yep, sounds like a good idea.
Well, here's the thing. Well, here I've talked to some people that are actually Trump supporters, and here's the thing: what the problem is it's not. I think what's going on here is, first of all, Donald Trump is very honest, and he just goes from the gut and just does things. And I appreciate that. I get that. And I also think what the other problem is people are, again, getting back to what I was saying, the Congress not doing what they're supposed to be doing. The Republican Party is rebelling severely. They're fucking pissed. They're sitting here looking, and it's probably partially the Tea Party. They hate the fact of what the Tea Party did. It hurt the party. It's hurt the Republican Party.
Yeah.
And I think that Donald Trump is, he's very, how do I want to put this?
Well, you said it earlier. What the hell is he going to do when he gets in office? What is his plan?
No,
you know what I'm saying?
He has no plan. But here's the thing, and I'm trying to say this. We were talking about this before we got on the podcast too. How can here's something that there's validity on both sides of this. And what I'm talking about is CNN had him on it for an interview, and he talked about about KKK, the one guy I can't.
Oh, David Duke.
David Duke,
like a known leader of the KKK.
Right. And several times before he even ran for president, he denounced him. He denounced him actually before this interview at a different, I guess it was, I think, an event or something. Mm-hmm. So when they asked him live on TV on CNN, and CNN is a very big network, a lot of people, when the presidential election comes in, they go to CNN for all this stuff. He sits there and he goes, I don't know if I can denounce anything. I don't know who this group is. I have to do some research. You know what he did? It's smart, but it's not going to get him any, it's pretty much going to lose him the election, actually. What he did is he was trying to reach out to these fucking white supremacists and shit. Mm-hmm. And looking at the polls right now, I have him up on CNN, he's doing very well. He actually lost Texas to Cruz, which is interesting. But he's winning some southern
Cruz
states.
lost, once again, this isn't a political show, but if Cruz lost fucking Texas, he might as well just give up. If you can't if you lose your own state, in the same way like Hillary did good in Arkansas, or was did Arkansas?
Hillary's doing really well in
which
Arkansas.
once again she should have, because her husband was the fucking governor of Arkansas for God knows how many years,
But here's the thing, how many more things does Donald Trump have to say before people sit there and wake up and go, I'm not going to vote for this fuck?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's so fucking racist. Which, this leads me to Oscars. And it's something that, I think we'll talk about a little bit here, is the problem is the Oscars are not racist. The problem is they're a bunch of fucking idiots.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing, is that, for you to say, oh, the Oscars are racist, it's the Oscar society is like this, they've been established for generations, right. For the past 50 years or however long that the Oscars have been around, now, is it saying that, but that's like condemning someone's grandfather for being racist.
Right.
No, it started at a certain time when the Oscars were started. And why seek validity? Why seek approval of people that aren't going to accept you? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Tell the Oscars, go fuck yourself, Well, and I'm just saying is that, I'm not giving them a pass. I'm not saying the people of the Oscars just do what the fuck they want. What I'm just saying is that when you look at the people that are the actual board, the people that are, they all skew older, they all skew whiter, obviously. This is obvious, and I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just who gives a fuck? Why, it's there are plenty of good movies that were made this year. I didn't see any of them. I don't think I've seen, the only movie I think I saw that won awards this year, honestly, the only movie I think I saw was Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah, it won 6 awards. They were all technical, but it's really good to see that movie actually won.
That a movie that we'd actually discuss on this show.
But see, here's the thing. That movie, a lot of people thought that the Oscars actually, they weren't going to pick The Revenant, they were going to actually pick Mad Max. Mm-hmm. A lot of people thought they were leaning that way. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Spotlight, which I don't think won very much at all, if anything, was the best picture. And I understand, look, I understand that these are just a bunch of people that vote. It's kind of like a caucus kind of deal. Mm-hmm. But here's the problem. Do you people listen to fucking people? You have people telling you that the best picture is Revenant, the best picture is Mad Max, and that's pretty much what it was. It was those two, pretty much going back and forth. And then all of a sudden, this one comes out of nowhere. It's I'm not saying the movie's not a good movie, because I haven't seen it, so I can't give you an opinion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, don't you listen to the people on this shit? Seriously.
No, they don't. It's all these quote-unquote quote Hollywood insiders. It's all these people who are entrenched in the fucking system. People that will continue to be part of the Oscar society until the day they die. It's like, it's like being a Supreme Court justice. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted by my cat because she's looking at like
Paul's cat is just staring at like nothing, and
she's staring at that thin pipe, and I'm just waiting for her to try to jump up there and fall. Like, it's going to be hilarious, and if it happens on the podcast, it will be even more hilarious. But seriously,
I mean, and there are people. I mean, it sounds like a joke. We could kind of bring it back to the Supreme Court or whatever. I mean, these are people that are going to be part of the society until they die. These are people who have been part of the system for the past 30, 40, 50 years, and they're not going anywhere. And of course, for true change to happen, you got to give it a couple generations, because you got to let the old people have to fucking die. Right. Either that or they have to reshuffle the whole Oscars, which I guess technically, if you want to talk about true equality, I mean, I guess technically, if they just said, you know what, the old system's thrown out the window and we're choosing a whole new society of people, but
well, here's the thing. Like, I've talked to some people about this, and I actually found out that the electorate, so to speak, of the Oscars is actually a lot more diverse than it's being told. Like, there are black people in there, there's gay people in there, there's Latinos in there, but just because we're talking about it and because it's become a big issue, so to speak, all of a sudden now it's racist. So it's one of those things that I think you need to look at it from a different side. Like, for example, we talked about Best Picture. Also this year, Sylvester Stallone was up for Best Supporting Actor, and he didn't win.
Yeah, he won the Golden Globe.
He won the Golden Globe, and he won the Critics' Choice, but he didn't win the Oscar. And a lot of people were pissed. Now, I'm not saying that the guy that did win didn't deserve it, but at the same time, again, there was a consensus out there that Sylvester Stallone was the man to win this award. And all of a sudden now, the Oscars are basically going, no, fuck you. This is the way it is,
Because he was in a movie starring a black guy.
Yeah.
No, we can't give it to him because then
it
was directed by a black guy and starring a black guy. But let's give the fucking award to...
Speaking about that, though, it's really funny, though, because what I find really interesting is that we talk about how there's been this huge talk about how, it's not racially diverse enough. We have a white guy by the name of Leonardo DiCaprio who has arguably been one of the best actors of our time. He's been nominated for an Oscar 6 fucking times, and he hasn't won once. Yeah. This time he won. But he hasn't won since now. I mean, you want to talk about somebody that's been fucking looked over. He's been looked over the most. The other person that's been looked over most, and, I can understand the frustration of Will Smith. That's another guy that's been overlooked a lot, because he's had a lot of movies that have been put into the Best Actor category, and he's not won. I sit there so many times, and I'm like, why are we going through this again? And I don't think it's because he's black. I think it's the same thing that's happened with DiCaprio. Like, the Oscar, like, it's like the Oscar electorate's like, no, fuck you, DiCaprio, we're not going to give it to you.
Yeah,
and then they gave it to him this year because that was their only choice.
It's like they're trying to go against the grain.
Exactly.
Like we're going to prove how hip we are by not doing the popular thing.
Exactly. And I'm like, you want to be taken as a serious award show, yet people year after year after year get pissed at you. Before, it wasn't about racial problems. It was about that they weren't nominating they weren't nominating the right movies for Best Picture. Let's talk about The Dark Knight. There you go. Yeah. Spider-Man 2 from the original trilogy, not The Amazing Spider-Man. No, that's not talking about that. Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2, listen to this. And people are going to be like, oh, that was a Marvel movie. What are you talking? Spider-Man 2, this is a fact. You look it up. I'm not lying to you. It was the best rated film of the year. Spider-Man 2 was the best rated film.
And rightfully so.
Look it up. And rightfully so. It was one of the best movies that I've ever seen. Here's the problem. It wasn't nominated for Best Picture. I'm not saying that it should win. Okay, I'm not saying it should win it, but it should qualify because it was the best reviewed movie of the year. I mean, and there's been other movies that have done that too.
Yeah, but you can't have, there's the bias against people in fucking spandex being a movie. I mean, like The Dark Knight, like, not for nothing. I would put, and Christopher Nolan has made some good fucking movies. Speaking of Leonardo DiCaprio, Inception, visually, of course, confusing as fuck, but I mean, visually a beautiful movie.
Right.
I'm pretty sure if you sat there with a fucking notebook and took notes, I'm pretty sure the movie kind of makes sense. Right. But Christopher Nolan's made some great movies, and I think The Dark Knight Obviously I'm a little biased. This is a show we talk about.
Well,
We talk about comic book
yes,
movies, and I'm a Batman fan, even though I'm wearing a Superman shirt right now. But I got Batman tattooed on my arm.
You're a fucking racist for that. You're a fucking racist.
Batman v Superman, man. But it's the Dark Knight. The Dark Knight goes up to me. That's like a Martin Scorsese movie. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a police drama that just so happens to have a guy in a suit punching bad guys in there.
I wouldn't take it that far, but what I would say is because of God, his name is leaving my head for some reason.
Christian Bale?
No, not Christian Bale.
Chris Nolan?
God, what is his name? The guy that won Best Supporting Actor. Heath Ledger. There we go. I don't know why I had a long podcast last night. Okay. So Heath Ledger. If it wasn't for Heath Ledger's performance, that probably wouldn't even have got nominated for Best Picture. But there again, that was the first year that they did, I believe, the 10 movies for Best Picture because it made sense. I'm not saying that when you nominate a film for Best Picture, you should nominate every film in the year. But if there's a movie that's the best rated film of the year, you should have it in there. Yeah. And these are the problems that the Oscars have. It's not racial diversity. They're fucking idiots. Yeah. I hate to say it, but the Golden Globes call the right person more often than the Oscars does. The same thing with the Critics' Choice. They pick the right person more so than not.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's politicking in the background. I'm pretty sure there's all types of and once again, just trying to be hip by choosing the not obvious winner. Now, that being said, I realize, and I apologize for the last episode, I said that being said, I said that phrase about 8 or 9 times during the whole episode.
Don't tell Jarrell that, because then he'll start a drinking game.
Oh my God! The last episode you're going to a fucking alcoholic coma.
No, Jarrell would come out of that and be like, "Can we drink some more, please?" And I'm just like,
so. The winning movie was Spotlight, which I didn't see, nor do I care to see, because it's I guess based on a true story. Is it based on a true story about about priests molesting altar boys or priests molesting sexual abuse? Now, anybody who knows me, anybody who follows me on Facebook, even people that I am staunchly anti-religion. I am the biggest fucking atheist on the face of the planet. Until my car swerves off the road, then all of a sudden I'm praying to Jesus. But now that being said, okay, no shit. Stop saying that being said.
Yeah, you said it again.
No, but okay.
Ding.
Now with that, okay. Let me find another way to put this.
This is hilarious. I'm sitting here like watching him like, how many times you want to say
my brain is not working.
I'm just going to put up how many times you've said it.
It is, yeah. There are people now obviously being anti-religion and for all intents and purposes, I'm a racist. No, excuse me. I'm an atheist. I don't know, Donald Trump on the brain.
Sleep, Chris?
Yeah, I am an atheist. A lot of people that I know and that I'm friends with and that are in my family are very religious people. And I understand it makes me look like a gigantic asshole that I am like super anti-religious, yet all these people that I'm friends with are very religious. Right. And I don't want to take that away from them. It is unfair. Now, of course, I'm going to make my anti-religion posts. I'm going to put, I am going to say, people who follow religion are fucking idiots, even though that's including the people that I love and I care about. Right. And I don't want to insult them. There are people who when you use anti-religion, the first fucking thing they say, especially if you're like anti-Catholic, the first thing they say is, oh, the priest touching little boys. That is such a fucking hack fucking joke. Now, of course, this movie shines a spotlight. It turns out like Rochester has a whole bunch of fucking molesting priests. Cause I guess at the end of the movie, they show like a list of fucking priests like throughout the country, that have been known, that are like, known, reported on record, kid touchers or whatever. But any fuck, that's what it is. If you're a fucking priest touching a little boy, you're a kid toucher.
Come here, kid toucher.
Any large organization of people is going to have bad apples. I mean, and trust me, in no way, shape, or form am I trying to say it's okay. But now, I grew up Catholic, you know what I'm saying? And not only I went to Catholic school, I was an altar boy. I was an altar boy for fucking like 7 years, like 7 years or 6 to 7 years. From like the age of like, since I made my first Holy Communion, which was like 7 if I'm not mistaken, to fucking like 13 when my parents said, okay, you're 13 now, you don't have to go to church anymore. Like, right. And they gave me to like 13 to kind of like say, okay, now after 13 you can make up your own mind or whatever. I wasn't like, and I didn't miss a Sunday. I think in like fucking, in those 7 years I probably missed except for like family vacations and shit like that, I probably missed maybe 5 Sundays as being an altar boy, being an altar server. And not to mention that I was also an altar boy in my school. When my school had, funerals and stuff like that during the day and I needed altar boys, they pulled me and my brother out of class, or they pulled me and my brother's best friend out of class. To serve, because they knew that we were altar boys and we knew the deal. It's so easy to bash religion. But I do have to say, and from what I understand, Spotlight kind of talks about this. There are people, I'm going to say that of all the priests that I've known as being an altar boy, and I'm getting serious here for a second, I can't think of any of them being fucking kid touchers. You know what I'm saying? Like, and obviously it's something that happens, and obviously if it's being swept under the carpet, and if there's directions from higher ups to fucking sweep it under the carpet, you take a priest, you pull him out of one diocese, you throw him across the other side of the country, or you send him to South America, or you send him, somewhere on the other side of the planet, and have him start anew, yes, that's a horrible, horrible thing, and those guys are fucking monsters, and it's fucking disgusting. But I almost said it. I've been lucky to deal, I don't like it when people bash priests. You know what I'm saying? It's funny, like here, I'll bash religion, but I don't like it when people bash priests and they say, oh, every priest is a fucking kid toucher, because I've dealt with some good fucking men, and maybe I wasn't cute enough for them to try to touch me, or whatever the case may be. And I would say in my life, I've probably dealt with like 4 or 5 priests, like dealt with them? Really? Well, I'm just saying in like being an altar boy and stuff like that. And okay, one of them was an alcoholic. Father Larkin from St. Stephen's. That guy fucking stunk of alcohol I remember we used to go to, I went to Catholic school. And we used to go they used to force us, for the lack of a better term, to go to confession the first Friday of every month. And so we actually they took us out of class to go sit in the church for like an hour while each class, for the classes that were old enough to have, confession, we would go and sit in the church for like an hour as each person took a turn, doing what's the word I'm looking for? Confession. And Father Larkin, boy, you could smell that alcohol through the little fence, through the little filter, and you know what? Yes, he might have been an alcoholic, as in the fucking, the alcohol was literally coming out of his fucking skin, like he sweated it out, but he wasn't to the best of my knowledge, he wasn't a fucking kid toucher. He wasn't a fucking, what I'm saying? Everybody has their fucking vice. Everybody has their one fucking thing that they have to do that maybe society frowns upon. And this guy just happened to be a fucking alcoholic. Does that make him a bad guy? No, because he was a leader, and he used to, he wasn't the most enthusiastic person on the planet, and I'm pretty sure he had tons of problems, but he was a good fucking man. So, when they talk about spotlight or whatever, and putting a spotlight on these priests, it just bums me out. I don't like to hear about, they talking about priests touching kids and the real hacky jokes, oh, kid toucher or whatever, because it bothers me on a personal level, because I knew priests, I knew some good men who were priests, and it just bothers me when people do that shit. So, with that impassioned speech, we'll be back with more dick and fart jokes.
This episode of Two Strangers, One Podcast is brought to you by Comics Etc., 1115 East Main and North Goodman at the Hungerford Building, door number 8. Find out more information at comicsetc.biz or like them on Facebook at facebook.com/comicsetc1.
Click and Hit, enhancing the experience for all recreational smokers. Click and Hit is a one-handed portable vaporizer. This smoking pipe has a compact 4-stage design, complete with a built-in, windproof, butane refillable torch lighter. The large burn chamber holds your stash of legal herb or pipe tobacco. Click the button to ignite and inhale as usual. When you are done, put it back in your pocket for later. Smoke anytime with the touch of a button. No more carrying around grinders and tins. You can leave the pipe, rolling papers, and even your lighter at home. The Click and Hit cordless vaporizer is no bigger than a normal cigar, making it the world's smallest and most discreet vaporizer. It's perfect for use in small places or shared rooms. It's efficient, getting 5 to 8 draws from your packed chamber. It's affordable at just $19.95 each. Buy 3 and the shipping is free. Buy 4 and you get the 5th one free. Visit www.click-n-hit.com clickandhit.com. That's clickandhit.com. And now for listeners of Two Strangers, One Podcast, you can use promo code STRANGERS and receive 10% off your purchase at clickandhit.com. That's promo code STRANGERS for 10% off your purchase.
And we're back. Okay, Paul. So here we are. This is the nerdy part of the show, but I did kind of want to talk about one more thing. For those who've been following the show, I don't really have any real cray-cray chicks this week. Not that I just didn't give it much thought. But maybe next week I'll have another cray chick. So, I'm at that point right now where, like, I'm fucking tired of dealing. I'm fucking tired of the drama and the bullshit with the baby mama, and I don't want to even think about any exes or anything like that. So we'll leave the cray chicks out for this week. But for those who've been following the podcast, I am now at the new store,
Yes.
And it's in a more metropolitan part of town. I did not know this until, like, maybe 3 days ago. We are, not across the street, but we are diagonal from a very popular gay bar in Rochester. And what I had said last episode, leaving the ghetto, is in the ghetto, everyone was like, you're going to go to that gay store. I've been there for like 2 weeks now. I would say maybe every other day I've rung up someone buying lube. And may fucking
inappropriate, or as we would say, lube.
May fucking lightning strike me if I'm lying. I'm not fucking lying. But I'm not, once again, shit like that doesn't fucking bother me. I wasn't aware that was the case. I thought it was just people fucking being closed-minded. And I don't want people to think that I'm being closed-minded by saying this. I'm just bringing it up because it is a funny anecdote that like I would say, like, every other day I've probably rang up a customer for lubrication. But, it's one of those deals that it's not a problem. It's just, I just find it a little funny.
I find it hilarious.
Dealing with, my new boss.
Your nude boss?
My new boss.
Okay.
He has me, okay, it's a different store and it's a different mindset of people that you got to deal with. But Jesus Christ, my schedule's all fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm leaving one night at 10 o'clock at night to go back and work 8 o'clock in the fucking morning. And that, I got to talk to him about that because that shit's got to fucking change. Now, here's something. Now, I want to go, I'm going to make a stranger vlog about this. And for those, please.
You need to be careful.
Check out.
You need to be careful.
Check out YouTube. Check out my stranger vlogs. I put out just 2 in the past couple days. And it's funny, like, I have them, I'll do them, but I put them out in a certain order, and I kind of have to wait until I can put one out, and then I can put out another one. But, leaving the store in the hood, and moving to a more metropolitan part of town. And like I said, it is the artsy part of town. It's not white, because it's a mixed area. It's metropolitan. Right. But, it's definitely whiter than what I used to. And also, but the artsy parts of town always tend to have the more privileged, people, there are a lot of people that I take care of, like, and I could tell in particular, like when I sell beer and I have to check ID, which let me tell you, it is a fucking night and day in between being in the fucking hood and have people, I gotta show you my ID. To people just showing me their fucking ID. You know what I'm saying? It is a fucking breath of fresh air that, I don't have to fight and fucking wrestle people every fucking day about showing their ID.
Wait. Do you wrestle them with lube?
Yeah, right. Yeah. We're gonna wrestle them right here. Let me get my KY out. But let me get my Astro lube. But when dealing with people, a lot of out of state IDs, a lot of the artsy crowd, the privileged crowd. It's a lot of, all these people are not from Rochester. Like, they moved to Rochester and they moved into the artsy area. Like most, that whole wave of young.
Well, it's usually like, if I remember correctly, like around Monroe Avenue, like that's around where the artsy.
But I'm just saying, is like every town has that area. It's the more artsy area, and it's it's not people from the town. People from the town, nobody from the town lives in that area because the fucking the rents are sky high. You don't want to live right next to a fucking bar where people get out at 2 o'clock in the morning and they're fucking making noise. It's all the new people to town, and so a lot of out of town people. But and I'm gonna make a longer Stranger vlog about this. Okay, when I worked in the hood, the customers in the hood hated receipts. They do not want a receipt. I've had people like, yo, why are you putting that in my bag? People literally saying that to me. And it's like, or like, like, I'm just buying beer. I ain't going to return it. You know what I'm saying? Like, just, like, people, like literally offended that I'm putting a fucking receipt in their bag. Like, I'm sorry. I'm just doing my job and what I was trained to do. Now, mind you, I'm not a fucking cashier, but I tend to end up on the fucking register a lot because I pick up a lot of people's slack on their fucking being slow. So, I'll get on the register. Oh, why are you putting a receipt in my bag and all this shit? White people hate bags. You wouldn't be.
Well, it depends. If it's beer, they always want a bag.
Well, when it's beer, it has to be in a bag.
Yeah.
But I mean,
yes and no.
Well, I mean, I've dealt. Don't be wrong. I've dealt with guys in the hood that put beer in their pockets and their jackets. Their big, puffy, oversized jackets. Yeah. But now, in the opposite, in the hood, they want an extra bag. Everybody, double bag that. Double bag. I'm walking. That's the big thing I used to hear all the time. I'm walking, as if just the fact that you're walking magically means the bag is gonna fucking.
I'm sorry that you're going down to the hospital there and you're insane.
I'm walking. No, you want it double bagged because you don't want people to see the beer clearly through the one thin bag.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's I'm walking is the primary excuse where everyone would say, double bag. That's in the hood. In the artsy part of town, no bag. No, I'll put it in my purse. I'll put, and then of course the people who come in with their outside bag, like the bag that you buy from the store, that's like the bag you bring in all the time. That like it's not made out of. Sometimes it's made out of canvas. Sometimes it's like that woven plastic kind of deal. Like like I'm gonna save the planet by using less bags kind of bag. So so it is so funny how in the hood they hate receipts, and the artsy part of town they hate bags. And then also, working where I work, and I'm not going to give that up because I don't want to lose my job. I'll talk shit, but that's not how I want to lose my job. Please, if I got fired, they'd be doing me a fucking favor.
Not really, you need the money.
Well, I do, but I'm just saying is, they hate, in the artsy part of town, they hate long receipts. And unfortunately, my store is one of those stores that, fucking the Declaration of Independence comes out of the fucking, out of the fucking display, when, it's just so funny to see how you go from one culture to another, and what they want and what they don't want. Exactly. So I just kind of wanted to talk about that real quick. Okay, now this is the second part of the show. This is the nerdy news, and unfortunately, you still haven't seen Deadpool, right?
No, I haven't seen Deadpool.
I loved it. Last episode, we were talking about how I was getting ready to go see it, or I wanted to go see it but hadn't had a chance. Great fucking movie. Well, I mean, great as in
I was gonna say you didn't say it was kind of a.
It is a little jarring, I guess would be the best way to put it. As in, parts of it are hardcore violence. This guy's he's cutting fucking people's heads off and kicking them like footballs. Then it goes from fucking slapsticky, fucking breaking the fourth wall. And being goofy, and then there's parts, then there are scenes that are fucking filled with heart and genuinely earnest. I mean, this movie, for all intents and purposes, is a fucking love story between him and Morena Baccarin, who was she was in Firefly. She's on Gotham right now, and you get to see her fucking totally fucking naked this movie. For that alone. And she's got little tits or whatever, but she makes it work. Morena Baccarin fucking smoking hot. Right. For that alone, you should go see Deadpool. So I liked it, and I'm not really spoiling much, but and obviously you watch the commercials. They have Colossus is in the movie. They bring in this character, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, which is a character that did technically exist. And it's funny, I'm more familiar with that name because there was a band. Oh shit, I forgot. There was a name. Some band used that as Monster Magnet is the name of the band, and they actually took that Negasonic Teenage Warhead was the name of one of their songs, and it's a pretty good song. If you like metal, check it out. So I'm more familiar with that name as just being a name of a song from Monster Magnet. You know, they stole it from the comic books, but that song came out like in '97 or something like that. So, you know, they were pulling that reference way before Marvel movies were big. And they have Colossus. Now, this isn't really spoiling that much. They show Xavier's School for the Gifted. It says Westchester, New York. This movie is in the same universe as the X-Men movies.
It is.
And, you know, they are smart enough where this movie, I mean, just the fact they showed Xavier's School for the Gifted, and that's not really spoiling it. You see Colossus, you see Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Obviously, Colossus, we've seen Colossus in the movies before, but he's always been on screen for fucking 30 seconds. Yeah. And, I mean, they fucking ham him up. They give him the super fucking stereotypical Russian accent. You know, because the guy they had the character that played Colossus in the other movies, he didn't even have an accent. He was just a guy. He was a guy that turned his skin into metal. Of course,
he was a kid. Well, yeah, he was a teenager.
Yeah, I mean, of course, at that time he's in a movie for fucking 30 seconds. But this fucking Colossus, you know, straight up Boris and Natasha, you know, Moose and Squirrel, you know, oh, hello Deadpool, how are you? You know, you must be good guys, stop shooting people, you know, super duper fucking heavy duty Russian accent, which, I mean, it helps the movie because it's so fucking silly, and then, you know, and once again, it's not really spoiling, you know, he is the good guy, he is the clean cut, you know, Russian, you know, let's get up in the morning and do calisthenics, you know, saying, dealing with Deadpool who's cursing, and then, you know, kind of like, you know, like the way Captain America is in the Avengers, where he's like, you know, language, you know, so, you know, I do love, now in this movie, you know, there are about 3 or 4 solid, like, Wolverine jokes and Hugh Jackman jokes and stuff like that, so, the director of this movie, obviously, he wants to play in their sandbox, and he wants them to, I mean, tons of Easter eggs. Even, there's a giant fucking Easter egg to the fucking Disney movies. The Disney Marvel movies, which blew my fucking mind, because I can't believe, I mean, I guess, and they got away with it, and that I'm not gonna spoil. But, you know, I am so surprised that they got away with it, because it's a giant, you know, Easter egg referring to the Disney movies, but I don't want to. That I'm not going to spoil. I'll leave that for those who haven't seen the movie yet. But you know, like I said, they do tease Hugh Jackman, and this has kind of been spoiled on the internet. You know, they teased that Cable is going to be in part 2, hopefully, and you know, that's a bit of a spoiler, and I don't think that's really ruining anything, because it doesn't really ruin any part of the movie. So you know, it's the movies that. It's the characters that Fox still has fucking the licensing for, so I think that's why they teased Cable. What I just got to say is I like the way it fits in with the X-Men universe, and you know, I look forward to, obviously the big tease is that, you know, now that Deadpool has become this, you know, juggernaut, pun intended, a juggernaut of an R-rated movie. That, you know, that, well, now there's speculation that the next Wolverine movie will be rated R, you know, which if this is going to be Hugh Jackman's last Wolverine movie, let's give us the Wolverine that we've wanted since the fucking 90s. Give us a Wolverine where fucking he is slicing fucking people's heads off. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying, you know, it doesn't have to be gratuitous to the point, you know, it doesn't have to be like Deadpool, where it's gratuitous to the point of being, like, ridiculous. But, you know, here's a guy who has fucking claws, who fights people bare-fisted, or, you know, I mean, with the claws. Yes, let him chop up fucking limbs, let him chop fucking heads off, you know. I want to see gore, I want to see, you know, even in, like, X-Men First Class, like, I think you're allowed like one fuck, and so it was when Xavier and Magneto go visit a young Wolverine, he's like, go fuck yourselves, like, you know, that was the one fuck in the movie. And of course, you know, a Wolverine, you know, a little more truer to the entity that is Wolverine, he would say fuck a lot more often, especially if it's old man Logan, you know, future Wolverine, where like, you know, the whole world's gone to shit, you know, and you can technically have Deadpool in his movie because he is like Wolverine, where he regenerates and he's gonna live fucking forever, for the lack lack of a better term.
Yeah.
So, instead of having Hawkeye, because that's the rumor, a lot of people saying that in the comic book it's Hawkeye, but since Fox doesn't have the rights to Hawkeye, put Deadpool in it. The same way they have the rights to the Thing, like in the movie in Old Man Logan, it's the Hulk. It's it's like basically since it's so far in the future, like Hulk has created a family.
Right.
There are like a billion. There's like a dozen fucking Hulks, but they're all like redneck inbred fucking hillbilly Hulks. So instead of that, since they still have the, the rights to the Thing from the Fantastic Four movies, they could have, instead of having the Hulk, it would be Thing. Instead of having Hawkeye, it'd be fucking Deadpool. And, if they follow, I like what they're doing with it, you know what I'm saying? And I like the fact that,
well, I do think
this has pumped more blood into the Fox Marvel movies, as opposed to being another bland, like, another fucking X-Men movie.
I do think that, they need to have those two, before Hugh Jackman does retire, so to speak, from Wolverine at least, they should have those two come together.
Yeah,
I think
they teased Wolverine way too much in this movie. It's the same way how they kind of forced the hand of the studio by releasing that leaked footage. I think they forced the hand of the studio by putting so many fucking Wolverine jokes in this movie. You know what I'm saying? They're tempting fate and they're pushing the issue, which is okay. It works because they got Deadpool made. But I think they're pushing the issue so much that they will have Wolverine in the next Deadpool movie. Or the other way where it would be at least a Deadpool cameo in the fucking next X-Men movie, or I don't know. I mean, they may wedge him into Apocalypse, but then again, Apocalypse. No, I'm sorry, no, they can't because Apocalypse is in the 80s. He's in the 80s. I forgot.
Well, I guess he's supposed to. He is in that movie, the next X-Men movie, but he's not. He doesn't have a big part.
Yeah, or so Deadpool. Obviously, I think if you're a fan of this show, you probably, unless you're fucking Paul. What? I'm just saying is that like you would think it'd be super easy for you to see it, but even you haven't seen it yet. Let me see last night, as we're recording this, like I said, we're recording this on Super Tuesday. Last night was the first episode of the new season of Gotham. Now that they've introduced Mr. Freeze, this episode, it's so funny because Gotham is so hit and miss. But, the episode of Mr. Freeze is pretty good. Like, it keeps showing promise and then it fucking falters. Like, and I like, whenever they deal with the characters that are the characters we're familiar with, I'm saying, like, I mean, of course they've kind of butchered the Penguin and, they've kind of rewrote the whole story between Catwoman and what's supposed to be Poison Ivy. It's just when they have these other characters that nobody knows or cares about, like a Fish Mooney, or the last whole season was this guy who was loosely based on, he was supposed to be part of the Court of Owls, but then they threw that fucking storyline out the fucking window. Galavan is the name of the character. And a Galavan character, like, to the best of my knowledge, is not from the comics. It was just the guy they made for the show. And it's like, it was boring. You know what I'm saying? And now that they have Mr. Freeze, they have, and actually, and this isn't really spoiling it, like, we meet Nora. We meet his wife Nora in the show. She hasn't been frozen yet. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's not really like a super duper spoiler, but it's pretty fucking awesome. Of course, Flash has been fucking fantastic. I mentioned that a couple episodes back. I haven't really been following Supergirl, but from what I understand, they're going to do an episode. If it hasn't been out yet, it's a Supergirl Flash. Like, I guess, the Flash has been doing so well and Legends of Tomorrow has been doing so well that they're giving Supergirl a boost by having the Flash in an episode of right. Supergirl, which once again, this whole fucking universe, and once again, let's not forget Arrow. I mean, the one that kind of like, started all these, I mean, of course, we go back to Smallville and shit like that, but, in the recent years, Arrow was like the main fucking one that came out, and then the Flash was kind of like a side character from there, and then Flash made fucking, Legends of Tomorrow, and now that you have Flash going into, and it's so weird, like, different fucking different companies, different networks that they have the Flash over there. And of course CBS isn't complaining, but I'm glad that they're open-minded enough that they can have the Flash
I think this
and Supergirl.
I think this is also kind of like a test to see if this will work. And if it does work, then, obviously we're going to see some more crossover.
And remember, they brought Constantine over into fucking like Green Arrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
I could be wrong.
And think about this, like we could see Green Arrow, we could probably see Daredevil. We may be able to see Daredevil too, because Daredevil is Netflix, but we haven't. Oh wait, we're
DC. You lost me.
No. I kind of want to.
You lost me. I'm like, what the fuck?
I keep forgetting because DC is mostly on
TV.
Yeah. I keep forgetting getting that. The only thing that's on Marvel wise is like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, yeah, and let me tell you,
it gets confusing.
I really wanted to like Agent Carter season 2. I tried. It's good. It's a good effort, but what they're doing, like what I said about Gotham, when you start focusing on other characters, okay, they had this, I forgot the name, something Mask was the name of the female character. And that's like some fucking like, not even C-list, D-list, E-list, F-list fucking character.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And then you're gonna make her the bad guy, and she wasn't even that fucking interesting to watch. Agent Carter, it has so much promise, and it's a good show, but it's just like, stop fucking around. You have this gigantic fucking universe to pull from, and you're gonna pull like a D-list fucking character to be the bad guy, right. And so as much as I wanted to like Agent Carter, it kind of fell off. I loved not that I loved the first season, but it was okay, and now it's like, it's slowly dying the way fucking Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in general has fucking died. I am looking forward to, and I haven't seen Jessica Jones, and now let's talk about Marvels. I haven't seen Jessica Jones yet. You got Netflix, so we're gonna have to fucking Netflix and chill or something.
I haven't even seen Daredevil, which I'm supposed to. So
yeah, Daredevil was fucking good, and now, Daredevil season 2, we've seen promotional pictures. I'm pretty sure there's videos, but I purposely have been like trying to avoid them. Right. But we see Elektra this season, and we see the Punisher this season.
It's supposed to be kind of both a good and bad.
Yeah, now, here's the crazy thing. When you think about it, okay, obviously, we've had a million Batman, the million different actors have played Batman. We've had how many Supermen? We had Christopher Reeve, Brandon Routh, now we have Henry Cavill,
the guy from
the kid from Smallville. I forgot his name also. But okay, obviously the big characters, we're gonna have a bunch of different people. And it's funny, the Punisher. Now we have this new guy playing. How many fucking people played the Punisher? We've had Dolph Lundgren, Thomas Jane, the one from Punisher Warzone, because I forgot that there was Punisher Warzone.
So that's 4.
And then now this guy from The Walking Dead.
That's 4.
So it's so weird that like how all these, the Punisher, which is a great big character who's, unfortunately just hasn't had that one like striking movie that everyone resonates with,
I think he had a good, the first one was a good start, but they weren't able to bring the guy back. If they had brought him back, I think it would have done well for the second, but
But now that we have this guy, the one from The Walking Dead, and it's sad that I don't know his name off the top of my head, but now we have a Punisher. Right. It's a big jump, it's a big giant leap, but if they wanted to, technically, if they wanted to, they could give this guy his own movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, we could have another Punisher movie. I'm just not saying that they're gonna do it, because they're trying to keep the movie universe and the TV universe, even though they're connected, they don't really have them crossover, not just yet. Right. But, we could technically have another Punisher movie if they really push the issue. Which, knowing the way Netflix are, it'd probably be smarter if they gave Punisher his own show. Right. Frank Castle. Let me see what else. And just two other things I want to talk about real quick. Lucifer, it's been on Mondays, and now it was after X-Files. Now it's after Gotham. There's a show called Lucifer. It's pretty fucking good. I was not expecting it to be good. After last season, when they had Gotham, the last season, they had, Minority Report. Oh, it was fucking, Minority Report was boring as fuck,
Well, I think, again, that's one of those shows that, had they brought it out closely after the movie, he probably would have done well, but
yeah, and I gave it a shot. I watched it because I would watch Gotham and then fucking leave my TV on, as Minority Report played, and I just couldn't get into it. Now, Lucifer, on the other hand, is actually a really good fucking show. A pretty decent mythology. If you haven't watched it yet, I guess you could kind of jump on board right now and still kind of catch up. But it's about fucking Lucifer. It's about the devil coming to Earth. And of course, he's very charming, and he's very, he fucking has sex with 50 women, he can't even, he just wants to be alone, and there's fucking women just fucking drawn to him and shit like that. Right. And all the while he's trying to fuck this, LAPD detective. And also I kind of wanted to talk about the X-Files. I caught a couple of episodes of the X-Files. I was never a fan of the X-Files. These last episodes were kind of fucking good. It wasn't the tone. When I did watch X-Files back in the 90s, it wasn't like a comedy show, but these episodes tended tended to have a little bit more funny stuff happen in them. Like, there was even a fucking scene where fucking, Mulder, David Duchovny's character, fucking has like an acid trip but he has an acid trip as he's going into like a country bar. So, like, he starts doing the fucking, like, you know, the fucking, achy breaky heart and all this. I mean, you know, it's just really weird. You know, they had the guy from, what's that show from, the guy from Flight of the Conchords, not the two main guys, like their manager. He was in an episode where he was like a werewolf, like a were character. And then even like the last episode, they ended the show, and I don't want to spoil it, but they ended the show like on a cliffhanger. And like, I like the way they ended it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was very accessible, and I wasn't a super big fan of the X-Files, but like, you know, they kind of tied up some, you know, from stuff, you know, people, this isn't really spoiled. They brought back the smoking man, and, you know, and the way they ended the episode was pretty fucking good. So, I'm pretty sure, you know, X-Files will probably be eventually available on Netflix or something like that, or it's probably still available online or whatever, but check it out. I mean, I was actually pleasantly surprised. And then what they did was they kind of did like a soft reboot. They brought in these two new characters that could kind of be the new X-Files. Like, let's just say David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson said, no, we don't, fuck you, we don't want to do any more.
Oh, I'm sure there'll be more, probably.
But they brought in these, but I was like, I watched the movie, like, there was like 2 movies, or I think it was 2 or 3 movies. I remember seeing the one.
I think there's at least one.
And there was one called
that was in
X-Files, I Want to Believe, I think is the name of the movie.
Yeah.
And I saw that one, and it was so fucking stupid, and it had to do with bees and magical oil coming out of fucking kids' eyes. And it was
like, go back to the lube.
Yeah, it was like this weird alien that looked like oil. It was so stupid. And, you know, and it's like, you would think, okay, here we finally given the big screen treatment, and it was like worse than some of their episodes, you know. And at least this 6 episode run, you know, it's not a reboot because that would be like they starting over, but they introduced 2 characters that could kind of, like, I guess if they ever really wanted to go back to the X-Files universe, but David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson didn't want to do it, they kind of have these 2 newer characters. It was the girl. Do you ever seen that show Grounded for Life? And it was with Donald Logue, and there was the daughter on the show. One of those girls that, like, is she hot? She's kind of hot, but not really. She's more regular than hot. She's kind of like I'm trying to think of a person to compare her to, but you know, like, she reminds me of like a Meg Griffin, like like you know, like, she's hot but not really. But in this show, like, you know, she kind of slimmed down or whatever. Now she's a little more intense, and she's a redhead also, just like Gillian Anderson. So they kind of they brought her into the play, and she's gonna, like, if they ever need her to play the rebooted character of Gillian Anderson or whatever, it'd be pretty awesome. So that's about it. I don't think I have anything else.
Well,
check out my Stranger vlogs. I'm sorry. No. Okay, go on. I'm sorry. I cut you off. You wanted to talk about the Twitter wars, how Twitter blew up, and you were a casualty of war on the Twitter wars.
Well, okay, so first of all, I don't think of myself as like a pillar of the Toonami community. I don't think of myself as like somebody that people look to for an opinion, or they consider my opinion to be important. I really don't care or need to have that title, but apparently, you know, because I helped to grow Toonami in a sense, and, you know,
well, you are the founder of ToonamiFaithful.com.
Yeah, that's right. It's the number one Toonami fan site.
That is your official title, the founder of ToonamiFaithful.com.
So I mean, pretty much what happened is Netflix has this. One thing I've been talking about is Netflix. Back in November, they announced that they were in Japan, and they're gonna start producing anime. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, one of the things it annoys me, because I don't want, you know, this to take away from Toonami, because this is something that could take away from Toonami. Mm-hmm. You know, there could be a really good show that's like, and the best comparison is like an Attack on Titan. And now, because Netflix co-produced it with whatever studio, you know, now we don't get that show, you know. So, you know, all I did was simply, you know, I put shake my head in Twitter speak. And then, you know, all of a sudden, then it just blew up into, you know, every other thing. So, you know, first of all, like, I'm human, so I make mistakes, obviously. Mm-hmm. And the way that I was tweeting, I guess, made it seem like I'm, you know, like, I want every single show to be on Toonami, and if it's not on Toonami, fuck you. Mm-hmm. Okay. First of all, let me just clarify my position, because, you know, I feel like people don't understand, and they don't listen to the Toonami Faith podcast, which is a shame. Mm-hmm. So first of all, anime, and let's go a step further, American cartoons. Yeah, I want most of those on Toonami, obviously. Yeah. If it makes sense for Toonami, if it's an action cartoon, it's something that matches up with Toonami, and it has to match up with Adult Swim. I've talked about this on the podcast before, those 3 rules of what would make sense for a show to be on Toonami, then that show can be on the block and it can be on Toonami. That said, not every show qualifies to be on Toonami. Okay, if it's a sports show, it's not going to be on Toonami. If it's a comedy mostly, it's probably not going to be on Toonami. I'm not saying like Kill la Kill, for example. You've seen that. It has comedy in it, but it also has a lot of action. Yeah. So it makes sense to be on Toonami. It's also a big show, so definitely want that on Toonami. I would love to have some of those Marvel movies or Marvel series that are going on Disney. I'd love to have some of those on Toonami. I'd love to have the new Star Wars series on Toonami. What I was trying to say was, and Twitter is not the best place for me to talk about these things because I don't, you only get like 140 characters max. Yeah. It sucks. I can't articulate what I want to fucking say, especially when I'm tired and sick, which I was at this time. I was really tired that day. I don't know what the fuck I was saying, to be honest with you. Some of the shit I looked back on and went, what the fuck am I saying? But what I was trying to say is that, I want shows. I don't want Netflix to be like, I don't want Toonami to say, what I was trying to say, and I gotta get this all, I'm kind of tired, like I said that podcast last night. So what I was saying, like with, Netflix getting a production, which they are, Production IG is a very big company in the anime industry. They were actually the ones that made IGPX, which is a Toonami original. That right there is kind of like, oh fuck, here we go. Now we're gonna start losing shows. What I was trying to get across was that Toonami, and I've said this on the podcast again, people should be listening to the podcast. What I've said is they, Toonami needs, and it's not Toonami, it's Turner, it's their company, needs to give Toonami the money in order to go out and get these series. We just had a debut of a broadcast dub, which is huge, called Dimension W. Okay, so Toonami's obviously making leaps and bounds. Okay, so it's not like we're not doing it. But I feel, what I've always said, and I will continue to say, is I feel like the company, that Turner, that's, the whole thing, is holding them back. You look at Toonami Asia, you look at Toonami India, now we have Toonami France. I don't know if you knew that. They all have DC shows on. They all have shows on them. Like, for example, XLR. Like, okay, you can play Megas XLR over in Asia, but you can't play it here. It's like, so that Turner is willing to pull the trigger, but it's on Adult Swim, so we're not going to pull the trigger. So that's where my position is at. I'm trying to, I want people to understand that, yes, do I want the best shows on Toonami? Yes. But not every show qualifies to get, you know what I mean? But with that, I feel it's kind of a little stupid and it's a little immature for people to write 2 articles about what I said and try to, what's the word I'm looking for? Make me look bad. I don't know what it is. Trying to, I guess, stop me from doing what I'm doing. I don't know what's going on. But it's the same people that are actually complaining about, they actually had a website, might I add, a Toonami fan site. And the reason they stopped doing their fan site was because the community was getting too bad. So let me get this straight. The community's getting too bad, but now you're contributing to that community that was bad. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and
you're poisoning the well.
Exactly. And for me, and I know this isn't the Toonami Fable podcast, so I apologize, Chris, but I don't want to always talk about this stuff on the Toonami Fable podcast. Besides, it gets you listens anyway. So. That's what's important. Then everybody else is like, gotta find out what the fuck this show's. I feel like I'm dealing with a bunch of 14-year-olds that just want to say whatever they want because they have a medium to communicate with people. And it's getting really sad. Like, Twitter has turned into this, like, cesspool of fucking douchebags that just go out and want to tear down whoever they can. Yeah, I'm a pillar of the community. Okay, I'll fully admit that. I am a pillar of the community. I am one of the main people that when you relate to Toonami these days, I have the fan site to go to. I get it. I understand. Same thing with the podcast. I get it. I understand. But let me make this very clear. I'm human. Okay, I get hurt by feelings just like anybody else. But for people to go out and take it to the extent of writing 2 articles and trying to tear down a site that clearly has benefited and given Toonami more of a voice and has actually grown Toonami, I can make that argument. That's not anything that I can. You've seen my
bring back Toonami. I mean,
exactly. I mean, I was part of that movement, and I took that movement a step further. And because I took that movement a step farther, I am where I am. I work my ass off day in and day out. I'm half the time I'm getting yelled at by my fucking fiance for being on the goddamn phone. You've seen it. Like, I get yelled at for being on the computer. What are you doing? Oh, I got to do something Toonami related, or I got to do something geeky related. I want time with us. So, I get yelled at, but I feel like the community has been going way too far.
It's people on the internet being people on the internet.
Well, it's that. And I think that the community, I think it's just a small portion of the community, but, it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
I find it really sad that people who go out and say, okay, we're not going to be doing this anymore because the community has become so bad, and then turn around and become in that community that's so bad and try to tear somebody down that clearly has helped Toonami, do the things that they do now. As far as I'm concerned, they can kiss my ass. Every time you piss me off, I do bigger and better things. So continue to piss me off, continue to do what you gotta do. But at the end of the day, when Toonami ends, I'll still be doing the fucking shit that I do right now. I'll still be on 2 podcasts, doing 2 websites, having a fiance, actually getting laid like some of you don't. Sorry, Chris. And not being in my parents' basement fapping every 2 seconds because, I'm looking at porn, or even worse, it's probably hentai. That's probably what the problem is there's no hentai in Toonami. As Darrell would say. Like, oh, we need to have hentai hour of Toonami, which he's joking, obviously, but, I mean, it's gotten to that point where I really think that I'm dealing with, 14-year-olds. Like, grow up. We are living in a time where we have a fucking idiot about to be the Republican nominee. A racist. A racist that pretty much, I almost feel like he says things just to see if people will still continue to vote for him and to see how stupid America is. And we're still voting for him. Not me, not you, but there's these Republicans. And you're sitting here telling me that the worst thing that you can do is tear somebody down because they misspoke about saying something on Netflix. Like, come on, really? Really? Like, grow up. There's more real life problems than you fapping in your basement to hentai. the one guy that especially wrote that article, I can't think of what his name is, fuckhead or dickhead, whatever. And Sketch actually called him out too. I really think that he's in his basement fapping to hentai, going, oh yeah. But I mean, in all seriousness, look, I'm not trying to be a dick here. What I'm asking you people to do is stop this fucking division. Stop putting out that Toonami's going to be eventually gone from Adult Swim. Stop saying that Toonami's the worst block or something. Guess what? The ratings today, 5 shows were over 1 million viewers. Toonami's not going, folks. I'm sorry to say that, but if you don't like Toonami, it's called the off and on button on your remote. Or your TV if it's fucking old and you don't have remote. Just hit it.
Well, one thing, I mean, look, anybody, now I could sit here and, okay, I'll say something like, I don't like Agent Carter. Whatever. Okay. Just saying like that. Now, I try my best to give it its props. And when I say I don't like it, I mean, I kind of want to acknowledge my personal tastes.
Right.
And I kind of I break it down. I say I don't like the new season because they are focusing on a D-list character.
Right.
People who, before you tear me down, before you tear down shit that we've made or whatever, let me see what the fuck you're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, show me. Now, if it was somebody creative, okay, like we do this podcast, and like I said, I would like Esther Koo to come on and be a guest. And now she does podcasts. If she said, oh, maybe you should do this and maybe you should do that, I would take her opinions more into consideration because she's a podcaster.
Right.
If Kevin Smith or Chris Hardwick, listen to this podcast or whatever and said, oh, you should do, I would take what they say into consideration because they're podcasters and they're people who, maybe you want to do this to get a bigger crowd or maybe, and I would I'm not going to listen, like I'm not going to do blindly follow what they say, but I will take into consideration, but if you're just some fucking, we turned fucking Oscar, one of the guys who wrote to this, show a whole bunch of stuff, we turned a guy who hated the fucking show into a fucking guy that loved the show, so
wherever he went.
Yeah, wherever he disappeared to. But, I think Darrell got to him. But no,
That's a good point. I should be like, hey, Darrell, did you get to Oscar? Don't fucking talk to me about Oscar.
Yeah, but it's but before you go and tear me down on something that's my creative thing is, maybe you should show me what you're doing creative, and I'll fucking then we'll take it from there.
Right, and see, here's the other thing that I want to say real quick too is like the site that I was talking about. I didn't actually have a problem with that. They were actually doing original articles. They weren't copying my site. I had no issue with that. Then all of a sudden, it was like, time to attack Toonami Faith, you know? And look, I have a high, for like on my Toonami News account, which has like 21.7 thousand followers on it. If I see that once, fine, whatever. I see it again, okay, I'm a little irritated, but whatever, I'm just gonna let it go. If I continue to see it like week after week after week, and it got to that point where it was just trolling week after week after week, I will blatantly call you out and I will block you from that, you know, because it's one thing if you're just joking and whatever, you make a joke, haha, whatever. You know, it's another thing to sit there and just continue to do it and to be hateful about it. Because again, we're on the Twitterverse. We're not sitting here. It's not like me and you sitting here having a conversation about real life events. We're talking about Toonami, a block on a television network. We're not talking about something that affects our lives in a way where I'm not making any money, or you know, some guy's gonna run the country, and that could be somebody that tries to turn into a dictator. You know, not that I'm saying Trump would do that, but
Emperor for life, Trump.
don't put it past it. But I mean, do you get what I'm saying? Like, this is just it's just to the point where let's as a pillar of the community. You know what? As a pillar of the community, this is what I want. I want you guys to cool down, think about what you say before you write it, and let's come together like we always do and do what we got to do. Okay, that's what ToonamiFaithful.com is, bringing all the faithful together to do exactly what I've dreamed to do, and that's to bring the community together and keep Toonami going as long as we can get it to go. Because without you guys, Toonami's not going to do it. You know, it's the same thing with a podcast. If nobody listens to a podcast, why do a podcast? You know, and you know,
not that that's ever stopped me before. 3+ years and strong, still running.
That's true. So I mean, I just wanted to get this across on here, because you know, even though Toonami Faithful Podcast, yes, I could go on there and bitch about it all day and time. I don't think I think I express myself more on this podcast than I do on that podcast, and I think this is a better forum to do this. And yes, you know, okay, fine, I was a little bit negative to some of the people that called me out, but let me tell you something. I'm also trying to reach out and say to you guys, hey, let's come together and let's do this. Okay, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna call you a dickhead and an asshole because you wrote an article about. Deal with it. Yeah. But I'm asking you to stop your shit and let's come together and let's do something constructive, because that's the thing. And Sketch said this clearly, and I love when he says this. Where were you when we asked you to write an article or apply to be an article writer, for example? You know, these people complain about certain things. Oh, this article's wrong. This is that. But if we extend, you know, an arm of friendship, so to speak, and say, hey, we'd like you to come on and write some articles, and you don't respond, you know, it's not even that. It's like just opening up. Like, I've had applications. You've seen it. I have an application up to get him to be a writer or to do video or whatever. You know, if we do that and you don't make the attempt and then you bitch about an article or something, you have no right. You know? So I'm asking the community to come together. Okay. If you think I'm the pillar of the community, then I'm going to lead you people and say, let's stop the crap. Cut the crap out. Let's come together and let's be constructive about what we want Toonami to be. And you know what? If there's something wrong with Toonami right now, let's figure out what it is, and then we go to Jason and we say, Jason, I know that you may not change your mind, but this is what we think as a community needs to change about Toonami. Okay, I'm not saying that you're going to change it, but this is what our thoughts are, and I think that you should consider it. And you know what? He'll consider. But if all you're going to do is go to his Twitter account or my Twitter account or Sketch Twitter account, or even CJ, or even talk about CJ without tagging him in, which is that I hate when people talk about somebody and they don't tag him in. Like, well, if they tagged him in, Darrell would have probably slit their throat, but that's either here nor there. But, you know, it's just, you know, why not just be positive? We have broadcast stuff. We've had a ton of dub premieres. Yeah, you know what? I would love to have every single show be brand new. But, and, well, technically Naruto Shippuden's brand new. These are episodes that have never played on broadcast TV, you know? All I'm saying is if you don't like the Toonami that's going on right now, why don't you come and talk to us? Because we have a voice. And let's all together as a community find constructive ways to bring us together and make Toonami better. Because that's what we have a voice now. Adult Swim listens. Unlike Cartoon Network, Adult Swim listens. So why, instead of being negative and trying to call people out and, you know, waiting for somebody to fucking say something wrong and then just piling it on them, why not, you know, let's come together and let's do something, because that's what we need to do. So.
Paul Pescrillo, the Bernie Sanders of Toonami.
Yes.
Pescrillo 16. So, all right, well, let's wrap it up.
That's what she said.
Please visit twostrangersonepodcast.net, where you can find all things show related. You can first and foremost, you can find our links to our iTunes, where you can go back and listen to damn near 3 years worth of episodes. And I don't say damn near because the show's been out for more than 3 years, but some of the earlier episodes have been taken down, but you can find them on our YouTube page, but I'll get to that in a second. But all the interviews, like the one we want to do with Esther, hopefully you're still listening, Esther.
No, she hates our guts.
We will do, I'm leaving the episodes up on our iTunes page because, I mean, that in case people that are curious about the people that we've interviewed, but, you can go back and listen to damn near 3 years worth of Toonami Faithful, of Two Strangers, One Podcast.
Yes, I'm slowly bringing you to Toonami. Slowly.
You can check out all of those episodes, and like I mentioned, you can visit our YouTube page. It would be a super duper favor to me if you can subscribe to the channel, because once I get enough subscriptions, I can actually change the name of the channel. Because right now I'm still stuck in that YouTube Google limbo where, I'm kind of stuck with some bogus fucking, collection of letters and numbers or whatever for the page. So just go, and if you want to check out the old episodes, or if you want to see my Stranger vlogs, I just released 30 and 31 this past week. You can go to YouTube and search for Two Strangers, One Podcast, Stranger Vlog, VLOG. And I'll probably expound on my whole black customers versus white customers in my next video. And if you can follow us on Facebook. That's, I think, the most accessible way is to find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Two Strangers, One Podcast. That's all spelled out. Every time a new episode comes up, or I put episodes up on YouTube, it gets posted to there. So that would be the main way of you can getting if you don't, let's just say you don't, I don't go on iTunes, or if you can get everyone and their fucking mother has a fucking Facebook page. So just like us, share us. That would greatly help. And
we would love if you shared us.
and much props and much love to the West Coast of the United States and South America and Mexico.
West Coast, man.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of love from the West Coast and a lot of love from South America, Central America. Also, I totally can't believe I totally forgot. You can find us.
Totally forget what you totally forgot.
If you don't have an iTunes, an iPhone, iPad, or iPod, you don't get your podcast on iTunes, you can follow us on the Stitcher app. That's STITCHER. They had an update recently which totally fucking obliterated their fucking app, and then they had another update and fixed everything. So it was confirmed because I'd made a post about it on Facebook, and it turns out there were other people having issues with it, but it's been resolved. You can find us on the Stitcher app. One
thing I do want to say about Stitcher too is, because it's the same thing with the other podcast I'm on, it doesn't automatically update to Stitcher. You have to. I don't know how long it is, but it does. It doesn't automatically come there. Like when you post it. Well, in my case, it posts to SoundCloud, Toonami Podcast. Automatic for us. So when it gets posted and then it's up, it goes directly to iTunes. There's kind of a delay on Stitcher. So if you don't see it at first, it will show up eventually. So
yeah. And what I do is I get if I'm in a Wi-Fi spot, I'll download all the episodes that I can. I do the listen online option, and then I do the listen later option, which means it downloads them to your phone, so you don't have to kill your data, you don't have to kill your battery by being totally connected to the internet. You download them when you're in a Wi-Fi spot, if you're at fucking McDonald's or Starbucks or at your house or at your friend's house because you don't have Wi-Fi in your house, and download them there, and then go back and listen to them later on. Hopefully, like I said, I would love to know if people are listening to the show when they're at work. If you're supposed to be doing something and you're supposed to be responsible and you're goofing off listening to the show, that would make me so fucking happy. And you can let us know all your stories by contacting us at twostrangersonepodcast@gmail.com, all spelled out, twostrangersonepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Stranger Podcast, the @ symbol, Stranger Podcast. And I can't think of anything else. I acquiesce the floor to you, sir.
All right, well, you can find me on Twitter at Paul Pescrillo. You can find me on Instagram. It's instagram.com/Paul Pescrillo. Of course, you can ask me questions. It's ask.fm/Paul Pescrillo. And as if we haven't alluded to it already, I am on another podcast called the Toonami Faithful Podcast. You can listen to that every week on SoundCloud. It's soundcloud.com/Toonami Podcast. And of course, it's on iTunes, so just search for that, and also on Stitcher. So be sure to listen to those too, because.
And you can check out Paul's other baby, Geeky Inc. GEEKEINC. I don't know why I have to fucking say this every episode. That's your project. That's your other baby. But so we certainly hope you guys enjoyed listening and had as much fun as we did recording. Thank you for listening to Two Strangers, One Podcast. I'm Chris.
I'm Paul.
Don't be a stranger.
Peace.
Bye.
You should be fapping.
All right, here we go, man. Go ahead. You want to read
Double
it?
jackpot.
What is it? It is a self-published book by Christopher Cologne.
Chris Cologne smells good to me.
But
look at her. That broke that fucking cold little exterior. He's like, hee.
But it is spelled C-O-L-O-N.
Him punny.
But Double Jackpot is a book about a comic book artist, Eric, who is in a loveless relationship with a materialistic
I feel you, Eric.
Lynette.
Oh, fucking. Are you sure I didn't write this? Sounds hauntingly familiar.
He starts cheating on his girlfriend with a more creatively supportive woman, Nadia.
Well, I gotta meet her. Where's the Nadia?
There's your summer girlfriend.
Summer Nadia is Nadia.
Nadia?
Yeah, I think Nadia spelled with an A.
All right.
Both Lynette and Nadia play the double jackpot, the largest payout in lotto history, much like the recent Powerball. Both girls play his birth date as the winning numbers. Eric is now stuck between two of the country's richest women. Who will he choose? It's not that simple. This is a clever fucking idea,
Yeah, it
man.
is.
Look at her, fucking. She's impressed.
I am.
She got some summer reading. Christopher Cologne smells real lovely with an original idea. This is. I've never heard this before.
I haven't either. This is a self-published book, much in the indie spirit as Kev's Clerks.
Oh, you don't even need to name check me. This is just a good idea. You could stand on your own, man. You don't even have to be like, hey, remember Clerks? This is nothing like that. This is way more original than Clerks. This is a good idea, man. Why didn't I think of this?
I need something to read. This book is part of the Comic Books, Heavy Metal, Video Games Trilogy Book 2. Odd I See, A Tale from the Road, coming soon.
Right on, man. It's part of a trilogy. This is the first part.
Way to write, man.
He's seeking a literary agent. Motherfuckers, anybody out there? There ain't no literary agents listening to this show, I assure you, sure. Sure. I assure you, sure. But somebody know a literary agent? Hook a motherfucker up! Chris Cologne come up with an original idea. I should tell Raskin. That's a good fucking idea, to be honest with you. That's a fucking rom-com right there. Megan, get Raskin on the phone. Isn't it possible to get Raskin on the phone? No?
Yeah.
I want to run it past him, man. I want to, and if it happens, I get a taste, Chris Cologne. I get a whiff, if you will.
The book could also be ordered on www.lulu.com.
That's lulu.com.
I understand that. I just want to spell it out.
Normally one says it, that spells it. Still, lulu.com. What is that? Do you know what it is?
I don't know. All right. The book could also be ordered on www.lulu.com. Search for Double Jackpot Christopher Cologne. A paperback version of the book is $15 and a PDF file is only $5.
$5 is
Yeah.
insanely inexpensive. 15's not even that bad for a paperback version.
No.
This is $1 million idea right here. Like a movie about a dude who fucking is stuck between two chicks, both of who play his birthday and win the lottery. Come on! I can see that trailer. Chris Cologne is on to something. Nobody else can smell it but me.
I'll read it.
Thank you. I'm going to make that smelly joke.
I know. You're trying to get me to laugh again.
It worked once. Double Jackpot is a self-published book by Chris Cologne, man. It's the first book in his Comic Books, Heavy Metal, Video Games trilogy. Book 2, Odd I See, A Tale from the Road, should be coming out soon. Get all the information at Chris Cologne, like a motherfucker.
I will
his
totally
book,
read this.
Double Jackpot. I'm serious. I'm going to recommend that to fucking Raskin. How is that not a movie? You know what I'm saying? This could be a sexy movie. You could do an R-rated version. There could be nudie in it, and you could show them fucking both chicks. Maybe a little penetration. Maybe a butthole shot. No butthole, no care.
I would like to formally apologize to Christopher Cologne right now.
No, sex sells. Chris Cologne will appreciate that. He's like, thanks for throwing a few buttholes in there, man.
Don't forget to check out twostrangersonePodcast.net, your one-stop resource for everything show-related. You can find links to subscribe to us on iTunes or on Stitcher. You could also find links to buy my book, Double Jackpot, on twostrangersonepodcast.net.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. And fuck you, I'm out.